Hello, my name is Daniela, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So I have a list of the usual questions, but I've also added in a couple of other questions. So I think I have about 18 questions in total. We are just at the end of June now, and so far this year I have read 32 books. I set myself a goal of 100 books this year, and I'm quite a bit behind. It's just a goal, I don't have to hit it. Reading is for the enjoyment. The first question in the tag is, what is the best book you have read so far this year? I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to be that person that gives multiple answers because I cannot narrow many of these questions down to one answer. I have two books for this answer. The first book is part of a duology, but it can be read as a standalone, and it is A Psalm for the Wild Bill by Becky Chambers. This was a 5-star read for me. I do plan on rereading it. It's very short, it's a novella. It's a cozy sci-fi where we follow our main character, Dex, who is a tea monk, and they're feeling a little bit fed up with life, kind of wondering what their purpose is. They're not enjoying their job anymore, and so they decide to go on a little adventure. Along the way, they meet a robot called Mosscap, who has also been sent on an adventure of their own by the robots to try and find out what it is that humans need. So Mosscap ends up accompanying Dex on his little adventure to his destination, and along the way they talk about various aspects of life. Mosscap is trying to learn from Dex what it is to be human, and during the process of talking with Mosscap, Dex learns a lot about themselves and the way they've been feeling. This falls into the cozy sci-fi category. It's quite a new genre, and I'm really enjoying this genre of books at the moment. I also love books where the author analyses human emotions and what it is to be human and how we behave, and points out like some of the silly societal norms that we follow and the pressures we feel for no real reason. I gave this 5 stars. I'd highly recommend it. Also falling into the category of best book I've read so far is Kingdom of Ash, which is the final book in the Throne of Glass series. This book was amazing from beginning to end. It is fast-paced, it is action-packed all the way through. I love all the characters in this series, and it's definitely a heartbreaking read when you have spent all this time with these characters. This book clocks in at just under 1,000 pages, but is the best 1,000 pages I have ever read. The next question is, what is the best sequel you have read so far? Kingdom of Ash is a sequel and would also fit under this question, but I do also have another answer, which is Crooked Kingdom. Crooked Kingdom is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, and I absolutely love these characters. I really enjoyed both books, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I gave Six of Crows 4 stars, ended up giving Crooked Kingdom 5 stars because by the end of Six of Crows, I was in love with all of the characters and I just wanted to spend more time with them. The events in Crooked Kingdom follow on from the events in Six of Crows, so I'm not going to tell you anything about Crooked Kingdom, but I can tell you a little bit about Six of Crows. Six of Crows is a fantasy, and it's based in the Grishaverse world that Leigh Bardugo has created with her series Shadow and Bone. The Netflix adaptation for Shadow and Bone does a good job of giving you the information you need to start Six of Crows, so if you don't feel like reading the Shadow and Bone books, you could just watch season 1 of the Netflix series. Shadow and Bone kind of sets up the world and explains a lot of things around the magic system, but Six of Crows dives straight in, and we are following an entirely new cast of characters in Ketterdam, which is a very Dickensian, old school London section of the world. The premise of Six of Crows is we have this small cast of characters that end up being hired to go and enact a heist. It's really fun. The heist is really well written. Once you get to the actual heist, it is very fast paced. There is a bit of setup involved, but once we got to the heist, I could not put this book down. The backstories of the characters are revealed as you're reading the book. They are so well fleshed out. They are all unique and all lovable. I just love this duology. Next up, we have a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I know everyone has been giving the same answer for this if they have not yet read it, so I'm just going to quickly mention it, but obviously my number 1 is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This has literally been everyone's answer if they have not yet read this book, because the hype on social media at the moment is insane. This book was on my most anticipated release list that I did at the start of the year, but I had absolutely no idea that it was going to blow up the way it has. And I'm a little bit annoyed about it because I could not get the Fairy edition of this because it has been so hyped up. So many people are wanting it. Also, Watsons did yesterday release their edition of the follow-up, the sequel, with Sprayed Edges, and by the time I found out it existed, it had sold out. The struggle to get these copies is insane. I am, however, very happy with the editions I have managed to secure. I'm not going to show you the editions because I'm going to be showing them in a video that is coming out a bit later. This is a fantasy book, and we follow our main character who is attending a war college for dragon riders. The ultimate goal of all of the students is to be able to bond with a dragon so that they can be a dragon rider. I'm pretty sure this has adult romance elements in it. I don't know much other than that, but Rebecca Yarros has previously written multiple romance books, so I think she's new to the fantasy realm, but she has experience with romance, so I'm very, very excited to try this. My second option for this question is The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. I just recently got this beautiful edition from the Broken Binding, which I'm so happy about. This was also one of my most anticipated reads of the year. It is another magical fantasy book. It is set just after World War I in the circus. A new war starts, and we also have another rival circus, whose leader has dark powers and even darker desires. The next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Again, I have several answers, but my main one is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. I read The Push by Ashley Audrain last year. I would describe it as a domestic / psychological thriller. I gave it 5 stars. If you don't like endings where you are left questioning what is real or what happened, you might not like The Push, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for the next book because that was her debut. Her next book is also in the same kind of vein, but I think it follows multiple sets of neighbours on the same street, and there's something happens and there's lies involved and twists, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also really looking forward to A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the third and I believe final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I have not yet started reading this series because I am waiting for them all to be out before I read them, because I know I'm going to want to binge them. I read the Caraval series, I loved it. As far as I'm concerned, it got better with each book as it went on, and Once Upon a Broken Heart series features my favourite character from the Caraval series, so I'm so excited. Through all the hype, I have been saving myself. I am ready and I cannot wait. Another book I'm really looking forward to is The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzan. The synopsis for this one says the fates of 2 bitter enemies with opposing magical abilities are swept together in the Hurricane Wars, the spellbinding debut in a fantasy romance trilogy set in a Southeast Asian inspired world ravaged by storms. Perfect for fans of Sarah J Maas and R.F. Kuang, the heart is a battlefield. We follow our main character, Talazin, who is an orphan who has grown up in a nation under siege. Talazin has found family among the soldiers who fight for freedom, but she is harbouring a secret, for she carries magical powers that are believed to have been wiped out years ago. There is a lot more to this story, but I don't want to read any more of the synopsis because I think it's a little bit spoilery. Hopefully I can erase that from my mind before I read the book. The next question is, what is your biggest disappointment so far? And I have one answer for this, and it is You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I have bought all the special edition Emily Henry books from a Lumra crate so far because all I have ever heard is amazing things about Emily Henry books, and I was like, well, I'm gonna like them. As far as romance books go, these are the books that everyone's reading and everyone's loving. So I bought the special editions, and this is the first Emily Henry book I read. I was really excited for it. I thought I was going to love it, and I DNF'd this at 50%. I didn't care about the characters. I found it very boring. I wasn't amused by any of it. I didn't connect with any of it. It does do that thing where it has 2 separate timelines, a current tense and a past tense, and something has happened but you don't know what the something is. So you are going through current day whilst getting flashbacks leading up to said event that happened. I do think I have a problem with that because there's been multiple books now where that has been a theme and I haven't really liked those books. So I'm gonna put it down to that, and I'm gonna give Emily Henry another chance. I was disappointed by this. The next question is, what has been your biggest surprise so far? And for me, that is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is the Fabled edition. It came in one of my subscription boxes, and I am so glad that it did, because I really did not think that this was something that I was going to enjoy. This is a dark romance. And the first chapter of the book introduces us to our main character, whose sister is getting married, and she is in a bar with her sister and her sister's fiance, who she cannot stand. They all met at school. Her sister has dated him since school, and she has never been able to stand him. They've always picked each other and played practical jokes on each other, and she's always hated him. It gets late, and the sister and fiance decide to leave the bar. Cora decides to stay behind, and by the time she decides to leave, she realises that she has lost her purse. So she has no money to get home, she can't call a taxi. So she starts going through her phone book, and lo and behold, the only person available to pick her up is her sister's fiance, who is called Dean. So Cora goes outside to wait for Dean, and while she is stood outside waiting for Dean to pick her up, this man starts talking to her. And he is described as a John Wayne Gacy lookalike. That description immediately gives me the heebie-jeebies. He starts talking to her, trying to have a conversation with her, and she's not interested. Dean then turns up, she gets in the car with him, and they start to drive home. On the way home, there is some sirens, some flashing lights, and they are being pulled over by who they think is the police. It's not. It is the creepy guy from outside the bar, and they both end up being taken by this man. With the information I had by the end of the first chapter, I was like, this is meant to be a romance. How am I going to enjoy this? There's no way I'm gonna get invested in this. How is this gonna play out? I could not have been more wrong. This book kept me on my toes. I couldn't put it down. I had to know what was gonna happen next. I ended up really enjoying the romance aspect of this book. I enjoyed the healing side of this book. There is a lot of dark themes and bad things that happen, I would say, in the whole first half of this book. Please look up the trigger warnings before you touch this book. It's very heavy. Huge trigger warning for rape in this book. If you can't read about that, don't touch this book at all. Do check your trigger warnings. There could be other triggers in there, but that one is the most prevalent. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I'm actually really excited to try more dark romances. The next question is, who is a favourite new author? I've only read one book by them, but based on that book, I'm going to say Mitch Albom. I read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, which is quite a short book. In fact, I think all his books are quite short, but I really enjoyed it, and I kind of felt like he had like a bit similar vibes to Frederick Bateman. I'm a very emotionally driven reader. I tend to give high ratings to books that make me feel a lot of emotions. Recurring themes in Mitch Albom's books include the purpose and meaning of life, the connections we make along the way, even ones we might not have been aware of. He also has a lot of spiritual themes and ideas about the afterlife, which I do find very interesting. And his idea for what the afterlife could be in 5 People You Meet in Heaven was really interesting. Looking forward to reading more from Mitch Albom, and I have a feeling I am going to like his other books. The next question is newest fictional crush. And I'm just going to say Dorian from Throne of Glass. And I don't mean Dorian at the beginning of the Throne of Glass series. I mean Dorian towards the end of the Throne of Glass series. I'm not going to say anything else because if you haven't read Throne of Glass, I do not want to spoil anything, and you should definitely go read it. The next question is, who is your newest favourite character? And I am going to have to say Manon from the Throne of Glass series. I absolutely love Manon. She is my favourite character in the entire series. I always seem to gravitate more towards the side characters for some reason. She is just an absolute badass. I love her so much. I love the transition. I love her arc. Everything about Manon is amazing. And I would love to read more about Manon. The question that I have added in myself is, what is your newest favourite ship? So like, favourite relationship, or people that you would like to be in a relationship. And again, I have multiple answers. So we have Nina and Matthias from the Six of Crows duology. Absolutely loved them. Kaz and Edge, because if you know, you know. The tension is real. Elide and Lorcan, and also Manon and Dorian, because whenever they were in a room together, whew, there is a running theme here. I appear to like it when we have one character who is supposed to be very hard and mean and hateful, and another character who they absolutely melt for. If you have any romance book recommendations where we have characters like that, please tell me in the comments, because I eat that up. The The next question is, what is a book that made you cry? And one of those is A Psalm for the Wild Built. I think I cried multiple times reading this book. I read this book at a time when I really needed it. I was feeling really down, I was feeling really lost. I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and this was the perfect book for that scenario. It really cheered me up, it made me feel so much better. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I went through some sort of healing process when I read this book, and my god, the last line of this book, I don't know what happened, but I read that last line and I just cried buckets. It really got to me. It's getting to me now. I can feel it. I can't even think about it. I love this. I'm definitely rereading this. I am a crier, by the way. I cry a lot. Like I said, I'm an emotional reader. I love stuff that makes me feel. And the other answer, of course, for that question would be Kingdom of Ash, because why? Why would you do that? Why? I don't need to say anything else about that. If you know, you know what happened. I'm still traumatized. Oh, if you want to see my pain reading Kingdom of Ash, I do have reading vlogs for the whole series, and I do have a vlog dedicated to Kingdom of Ash and all of the pain and trauma that I went through reading that book. The next question is, what is a book that made you happy? My answer for this is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. This is a YA fantasy book based on a Korean legend. This really had like those magical fairy tale vibes, a real sense of nostalgia, that feeling that, you know, when you watch a film and they have the parent reading a bedtime story to the child and the child's eyes just light up and they're like, this is the best thing ever. This is how I felt reading this book. I felt like a child at bedtime being told a story. It made me feel so warm inside. It was just so magical. I loved it. It was great. And I gave it 4 stars. The next question is, what was your first DNF of the year? And mine was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Moter and Max Gladstone. This just was not for me. I did not gel with this at all. I wasn't getting it. This book made me feel dumb. The next question is, what genre have you read the most from? And I have checked. My top genre was fantasy, closely followed by literary fiction, and then underneath that we also had a joint tier romance and cozy sci-fi. The next question is, what is your most anticipated reread? I think it goes without saying that Front of Glass is one of these, but also I'm really excited to read ACOTAR physically, because when I listened to those for the first time I did them on audiobook, and I feel like I connect better with characters when I physically read than when I listen. I'm really excited to reread the ACOTAR series, but I think my most anticipated reread is, for some reason, I've been having this craving for quite some time that I really want to reread the Twilight books and then watch all the films. I don't know if it will be a bad idea. I read them when I was at uni. I'm guessing it was right before the final book came out because I have the 4th book in hardback. But I remember really enjoying them and then going to see the films as well. Can I just say, the casting of Alice was perfection. Like, the Alice I had in my head is exactly what they put on screen, and it was the best thing ever. I'm hoping I enjoy it for the nostalgia. The next question is, what is your favourite special edition you've received so far this year? I have, again, 2 answers for this. The first one is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was part of his Kickstarter campaign that he did for the books that he wrote during the pandemic. This is so beautiful. It's a faux leather material with this gorgeous foiling all over it. I absolutely love the design. I think it's one of the most beautiful books that I own. And I've heard it's really whimsical, fun fantasy, so I'm really excited to try this. And my other favourite is the Cruel Prince series from Litjoy. It comes in this beautiful slipcase. The books look like these old school storybooks with like this faded coloured covers and gold foiling everywhere and gilded edges. It also has the most stunning end papers, the cutest signature page I've ever seen. They're annotated. They also have artwork throughout the books. They're absolutely stunning. Next we have a couple of YouTube related questions, and the first one is, what video are you most proud of? And my answer to that is my bookshelf tour. It went up a few weeks back. It is my best performing video to date on this channel, which I am super happy about because the amount of hours that I put into that video is insane to me. I think I spent about 3 hours filming it. I then spent hours and hours, day after day, for like 1 or 2 weeks editing it, making sure that I'd edited all the sound, readjusting all the clips to make sure they were straight, doing all the color editing, doing the main edit of the video itself. I spent an obscene amount of time making this super catchy intro that I absolutely love and I'm obsessed with. I actually have a funny story about the intro. When I was doing the editing, there's a couple of clips where I'm like messing around, like doing twirls and stuff and like trying to like pretend I'm like browsing the books and whatnot. And during that moment, I'd been listening to a playlist on my Apple speaker, but the playlist had ended and Apple had rolled on and carried on just playing like random songs. And this was one of the songs that it was playing. I hadn't actually heard that song before the day that I started filming my bookshelf tour. And when I was editing, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed that song. So I decided to use the song for the intro. There was a couple of lyrics in the song that didn't really go, so I really spliced the song up. And then the last line was something about happy ever afters, and I was like, well, I like that line. That line's perfect because this is a bookshelf tour. It just worked out perfectly. Random events in the universe resulted in my little intro to my bookshelf tour that I absolutely love. The final question is, who is your favourite YouTuber so far this year? And hands down, I have to say Alison Pages. I have been watching her videos religiously since I found her. I've also been through her backlog. I absolutely love her. She reads across a range of genres. She often has book choices that I haven't heard of, so I really love watching her videos. She's really funny. Her videos are really calming. They give me the biggest boost of serotonin every time I watch them. My partner really loves watching them as well. Every Sunday my partner turns around and he's like, has Alison uploaded yet? I'm like, yes, she's uploaded. Let's watch it. Sometimes we're desperate for our serotonin boost and we have to watch her first, but oftentimes we will save the best till last and we will watch Alison's video to end our day and give us that boost. So there you have it. That was my extended mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you have been reading this year. What are your favourites so far? And as always, if you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.
Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to grey as you fade away.